All right, free radicals, welcome back. My name is Dave. This is the Radical Independent. The last 12 to 24 hours has been really interesting political theater in our country. I realize now that the truth is completely fluid, and people who are evil, who are absolutely evil, have decided to make things up about somebody who I believe has much better character than most of us. Tulsi Gabbard, look at these stories here in the middle. This is a story that I believe has been covered over and over again. And they put it out there, Market Watch. I don't understand why Market Watch is getting involved with this, and the timing of this obviously is certainly driven by their love for the establishment. They want to head this off, because I can guarantee you, like I said in the last video I did, that her donations, Tulsi Gabbard's campaign donations, are probably going through the roof. And they'll continue to go through the roof because people are waking up to the fact that there are liars who are in the news media. It's not just that they're not reporting things. It's not the fact that they're being slightly inaccurate, but they're literally pushing lies as news. And this idea, that you can't say fake news and you can't call out the news media, everybody can see what's happening. In this story here from Fox News, we find out that there are a number of Democratic candidates running who've decided to say, you know what, we're not playing this game. Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, and add Beto O'Rourke to that list as well, surprisingly. Beto came out and basically said, no, she's serving our country. She's in the military. She's in Congress. I mean, her resume alone would certainly speak to the idea that her allegiance, her sworn allegiance, is to the United States of America. And when you compare Tulsi Gabbard's allegiance to this country with Hillary Clinton, who's been in so-called public service since the 1970s, and who apparently thought that the throne was hers last time around and decided really not to put in a whole lot of effort. Because if she had campaigned in a couple of states, who knows? She might have won it. But she blames, obviously, Russia. She blames Jill Stein, a couple of articles where, now again, Jill Stein is being blamed. Because, you know what, we're all just robots, and we hear Jill Stein's name, we get the signal from Vladimir, and then we march to the voting booth and we pull the lever for Jill Stein. I don't even know if the Green Party was on the ballot in all 50 states in 2016. But yet, they're the reason that Hillary Clinton can't get over the mountain. What's interesting is the Washington Post continues to put out inaccurate information and writes copy as if we're all really stupid. Fresh battle lines. Okay, yeah, I'll bite for that. Maybe this is a fresh battle line, but it's really an old battle line when you look at what happened in 2016. An unpredictable rivalry between two Democratic politicians. Here comes the first inaccurate piece of reporting. One who isn't even running. Really? We're not 100% sure about that, based on what I've been hearing in the last few days and weeks. And of course, these are just rumors. But who's to say a rumor that you hear is more or less accurate than this actual so-called news reporting that they're doing? So one who's not even running and another who is polling barely at 1%, which is a false statement. Colby Itkowitz. Hey, Colby, Tulsi Gabbard is not polling at barely 1%. Because here's the deal. She wouldn't have been in the last Democratic presidential debate if she was polling at barely 1%. And no mention of her fundraising, by the way, which, again, doesn't seem to be a metric until you get to, the big time. Till you get to the general election where everybody's talking about how much money the other guy has raised. And in this case, no mention. Here it goes. It began when former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton suggested this week that current primary contender Rep. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii is being used by the Russians, who could be plotting a third-party run to siphon votes from the eventual Democratic nominee. It's a scenario that Clinton is sensitive to, since she blames Russian election interference on Green Party candidate Jill Stein for her loss to President Trump. Now, using again this 1% thing that they came up with here, why bother with Tulsi Gabbard? Why even write a story about it? I mean, now you write the story because Tulsi has responded, and I'm sure she's in a fundraising whirlwind right now. I mean, you could see Tulsi Gabbard catapult within the top few candidates. You really could. I'm not predicting for sure, but it wouldn't at all surprise me. In fact, people are waking up to the fact that the whole thing is corrupt and rigged, and now you're smearing an Army veteran who's a major in the Army, and you're going out of your way to say the major in the Army is a Russian asset. Because, by the way, the podcast said Russian asset. It didn't say just grooming. It said Russian asset. So these are things that have been said. Those talking points, by the way, made their way to the New York Times last weekend. And then they appear again with Clinton parroting the same lines. It wouldn't shock me if these people are on the phone with Clinton. And then Clinton is saying, well, this is what you got to do. Or they're saying, this is the story we're going to write to ensure that your chosen candidate, Elizabeth Warren, gets the nomination. It's a scenario that Clinton is sensitive to, since she blames Russian election interference and Green Party candidate Jill Stein for her loss to President Trump. So, again, this links Jill Stein directly to the Russians. Apparently she did go to Russia at one time and took pictures or something. And then those pictures went viral. And that proved, of course, that Jill Stein was just a Russian agent. If you want to change how this political system works, you have to begin somewhere. And I keep suggesting you have to go third party. And we're all going to have to go there sometime. Because these two parties are intellectually and morally bankrupt. And we're seeing the kind of morality we're seeing coming out of the former First Lady's mouth is just, it's reprehensible what she's saying and doing. Gabbard, in a scathing response, called Clinton the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long. And she writes, it's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Gabbard wrote on Twitter, don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. And guess what? Clinton has not directly responded, but her spokesman, Nick Merrill, told CNN, if the nesting doll fits. If the nesting doll fits. Now, I'm a man who's been around for a while. I've not heard this particular expression. I've heard if the shoe fits. If, there are other phrases I've heard. I've not heard if the nesting doll fits. So this is not only condescending, and it really just shows the depth to which these people, by the way, these people think Donald Trump is the most evil president and vile, and I've heard all of these great adjectives when describing Trump. I say what Nick Merrill is doing here is equal to anything Donald Trump has said or done thus far. You may disagree with me. You may disagree because Trump has been particularly harsh when it comes to immigration and so forth, and has said some things that some people think are absolutely some of the worst things ever. But when you impugn somebody and accuse them of something that they did not do or aren't, intrinsically they are more American in the sense that they're willing to put their life on the line for their country. And then you come on this propaganda news network and you say, it's almost like they're playing a game. It's almost like a reality game show, which Tulsi Gabbard, she already covered this when she talked about the debates and how they're basically just a dog and pony show and there's no useful information that you get out of it. It's about one-liners and zingers, and if you don't, run words together, if you're not Joe Biden all night, then people think, okay, you're competent, you're coherent. So Merrill, in an interview Saturday, said Clinton was not saying Americans are Russian spies, but that Russia has found ways to take advantage and is not being held responsible by anyone. No, I'm sorry, that's trying to walk it back. It's not, that's not what Clinton said grooming. So Russia was grooming Gabbard. How do you groom somebody? Don't you have to communicate with them? Don't you have to tell them what you want out of them? So how is Russia grooming anybody? And do they think that somebody of Tulsi Gabbard's intelligence wouldn't pick up on some Russian operative who snuck in and started to influence the campaign somehow? This is just, it's absolutely non-believable. I was going to say unbelievable, and it truly is unbelievable, but this isn't even a good lie. I remember when they used to call Bill Clinton an unusually good liar. I'm pretty sure that was written in a book about Clinton during the 1990s. And the criticism probably came from the right. It was still correct. Okay? Just like Trump says this is fake news, this is. So few outside Clinton's immediate orbit defended her comments. The closest anyone came was Senator Booker, who retweeted Gabbard's reaction to Clinton with a viral GIF from the June debate when he glanced side-eyed. And look, this is, just describing these people talking, the way they talk about social media, it's almost as if they're explaining social media to their stupid audience. So he retweets a GIF, and we have to explain what that is and how that works. That garnered a reply from Clinton, a viral GIF of her own from a 2016 debate where she exhales, says okay, smiles, and shimmies her shoulders. So Hillary, she's all in. She's all in with this. She's going with this. Whoever is talking to her, this guy Plouffe, whatever his name is, this other guy this guy Merrill, they're all in on this. They cannot stand Tulsi Gabbard. Meanwhile, we got Klobuchar, whose Iowa bus tour had been overshadowed by the Gabbard-Clinton fight. Oh, boo-hoo, Amy. Your campaign's been dead in the water since you announced. Stop it. Cut it out, unless, you get Bill Maher to go out there with you, because apparently you're the great compromise candidate. Amy Klobuchar told reporters on Friday that Clinton could defend herself, and will. So hey, I'm sticking up, I'm with her. That's what Amy Klobuchar, I'm with her. That's and that's Bill Maher's candidate right there. Asked about the story again on Saturday, she pivoted to talk about her election integrity legislation. You see, because again, it's a great pivot, because when you talk about Tulsi Gabbard, then you have to talk about Russia, then you have to talk about Russian election interference, and then great opening for her discussion on election integrity. Great. Amy Klobuchar. This is something I'm not getting into right now. I will talk about election security because I think that's much more significant than any Twitter fight going on right now. Really? Because I'm sure Tulsi is out raising you as far as income here. She's standing up to the establishment, and you want to cozy up with the establishment, and your election integrity stuff is a joke. But two of the non-politicians, of course they have to put that in there, because see, these aren't skilled people. They're non-politicians. Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson sided with Gabbard. They can't just say two other candidates, Andrew Yang, who's doing quite well in the polls and raising a boatload of money, sided with Gabbard. Yang tweeted that Gabbard, a veteran, deserves much more respect and thanks than this. Williamson accused the Democratic establishment of smearing women it finds inconvenient. Ooh. And that ball is going out of here. Home run for Marianne Williamson. That was a great line. The character assassination of women who don't toe the party line will backfire. Stay strong, Tulsi Gabbard. You deserve respect, and you have mine, Williamson tweeted. Notably, Clinton, who made the comments on a podcast hosted by David Plouffe, a former, it's Plouffe, it's not Plouffe, right? A former advisor to President Barack Obama, never used Gabbard's name. This is the media now. I've heard this a few times. Well, you know, they never said Gabbard. And by the way, Gabbard was asked the same question on CBSN, and she just was like, really? Really? Come on. You're going to play that game? Really? They didn't actually say my name. But Gabbard is the only female candidate in the Democratic primary who has been accused of having ties to Russia. Yeah, okay. Correction here. And this is, again, crappy reporting. This is the only Democratic Party candidate who has been assaulted by the media relentlessly over something that's fake news. All right. I think I handled that well. I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who is currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. Again, and they actually reported here, Gabbard has repeatedly ruled out running as a third-party candidate, but she has been courted to run in the general election outside the Democratic Party by activists. Who are those activists? We never find out. Who believe the two-party system is corrupt and should be cast aside. Don't they make it sound like, can you believe these crazy people who don't just love the Democrats and the Republicans? We have such a great system here. But these activists think the two-party system should be cast aside. Activist. Count me in as an activist, will you? Just put me down, Dave, activist. Stein, they just went right to Stein. Stein has suggested, not Jill Stein, not former Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein, has suggested in the past that Gabbard should become a Green. Yeah, she did a little sit down with Primo Nutmeg, and I think she said something like, I wish she would be a Green. She didn't go, off the rails about it. She was asked about various people, and she said, I wish she would be a Green, because her comments were similar to our message, which is endorsed and funded and propagated by the Russian government. We all know that's true. We all know it's true, even though there's absolutely no proof, but we know it's true. In the podcast interview, Clinton also accused Stein, who won more votes in several states than Trump's margin of victory over Clinton, of being a tool of the Russians. So that's a great accomplishment, by the way, Jill Stein getting that many votes. And then here it is. Yes, she's a Russian asset, I mean totally. So Jill Stein, by the way, has challenged Hillary Clinton to a debate. And if you think that's going to happen, you're probably buying investment property, I don't know, on the moon. It's just not going to happen. They know they can't win without a third-party candidate. Oh, okay. So, meaning what? Trump can't win without the third-party candidate? It's just mind-boggling that. So Putin, and by the way, Putin and Trump aren't really getting along so well, right? We got this Cold War thing going on right now, mainly because of the Democrats, but also Trump isn't really palling around with Vlad like he was supposed to. According to all these people, all Trump wanted to do initially was just to get along with Russia, but he sends Pompeo out and he does the same crap that everybody else has done, and we're getting the same policy, except now we've got a super hostile media and all of these Democrats running around yelling about Russia. President Trump weighed in on the dispute Saturday afternoon, urging a third-party Green Party candidate to run in 2020, which would benefit him by peeling off Democratic voters. Crooked Hillary just called the respected environmentalist and Green Party candidate Jill Stein a Russian asset. They need a Green Party more than ever after looking at the Democrats' disastrous environmental program. Wow. Trump. All right, so this is just Trump being Trump and doing strategy. And he's just provoking. He's like, yeah. And it's unclear why Clinton initiated this fight. The bad blood between her and Gabbard goes back to 2016, when Gabbard quit her post as a Democratic National Committee vice chair so she could endorse Clinton's primary opponent, Senator Bernie Sanders. And of course they put a little I, because he's independent of Vermont. I love that. Gabbard is an unconventional Democrat whose message of an isolationist, no, it's not isolationism. It's not fighting. It's not going to war at the drop of a hat. It's going by the Constitution. And willingness to buck the party establishment has gained her fans among the far right. I don't know about the far right. It's just gained her fans from people that don't like war. She's a frequent, and again, here we go with Tucker Carlson. And she went on Friday night to talk to Carlson about her clash with Clinton. She also has gained a following with some, here we go, the same crowd. The same crowd. I'm not even going to say it. But the main reason many Democrats, including Clinton, are wary of her is because she's a favorite topic on Russian websites and social media. So basically, as this article goes along, the author basically sides with Clinton. This is why Clinton is nuts. This is why she's paranoid. This is why she's saying stuff about Gabbard. This is why she's smearing. Hillary is absolutely going to continue to call balls and strikes as she sees them, because while she knows she was on the receiving end of it in 2016, our 2020 nominee will face the same threat. Wouldn't it be awesome if it was Tulsi Gabbard as the 2020 nominee? Philippe Reigns, a former Clinton advisor. Philippe, yes, Philippe, you're doing just fine work, running interference for your boss. Gabbard was back on the campaign trail Saturday. Clinton on the campaign trail. Well, she doesn't do campaigning, so that wouldn't happen. Holding 2 town hall meetings in Iowa, including one in the town of Clinton, ironically. That was a good little last line. So there you have it, the smear patrol, and an article that at times seemed like it might actually report some truth, and of course it did a lot of omission, and then when we got to the end we realized that the author was basically trying to explain Hillary's paranoia and why she would call Tulsi Gabbard a Russian asset and say that Russia was grooming Tulsi Gabbard. Just mind-boggling stuff. And one more reason why the entire political system, the two-party system, and the media that covers it, everything needs to be dismantled and brought back to the people somehow. people here on YouTube doing great reporting, great commentary, great analysis, encouragement, whatever it is, and independent news, which needs to happen like yesterday, and a third party, which whether it's the Green Party, there's a huge opening here. Unfortunately, Mr. Howie Hawkins, the lead guy in the Green Party for the presidential nomination, he sides with all of this Russian garbage. And I can't make heads or tails of why he would do that. So, in any event, it's been an interesting 24 to 48 hours. If you haven't donated to Tulsi's campaign, you need to donate. Also, if you want to help me out on my channel here, pitch me a couple of bucks over via PayPal or Patreon. Heavy demonetization on these videos. I've been demonetized, I think, 4 out of the last 5? So it's, I'm working on maybe 5 out of 6 on this one, because I've gone against the coveted and wonderful and often first on your Google search Washington Post, which again, we can always thank Google for pretty much everything that's been happening on the political scene the last few years. And it's really not the Russians we have to worry about. It's actually people within our own country who are manipulating search results and are sort of funneling people into presidential campaigns and telling people this is who you need to vote for, even if it means we lie about that person or make things up about that person, or not talk about issues that are relevant to you and your family, because pretty much that's what politics is now. So, third party, you guys have a huge opportunity, but right now, Tulsi Gabbard is riding a wave. She's surfing that wave, and it's an awesome thing to watch. All right, folks, see you soon.